Good evening. My name is Wahid Lutfi. I'm going to talk with you about your system security and how to protect your resources, whether it's hardware or software. Normally, you have a facility which is a combination of gates and security guards and then buildings that have locks and IDs that are TFA, two-factor authentication, or badges that allow your employees and other peoples to get into the building and get out of the building. In addition, you have like hardware in terms of operating system. I'm sorry, hardware in terms of servers, desktop, workstation, laptops, portable hardware, any other device that are connected to your network, and you want to protect them. But on top of that one, these hardwares are managed by operating system, by networking software, by database software, by security software, by applications that are running on top of it, by users that are interacting with them. So in this session, I'm going to talk to you about one of these software called Secure Shell Daemon SSHD, which allows you to kind of connect to a server side or to a client side that is peer-to-peer, that is also a server, but it could be a peer-to-peer to connect to it, and then you get some of the resources, but you provide some sort of secure ways to communicate, and that's called a secure shell or secure SSH daemon. And utilities, the programs that were back in the 1969s at the time that DARPA and ARPA projects was working with the Department of Advanced Research Agency called DARPA and ARPA. Those ones were basically trying to just send files between machines in the military. So from one location to another location, they were using something called File Transfer Protocol, FTP. FTP was in clear text. It was not providing any kind of security or any kind of ciphering. And then the text that was going there was clear text. Similarly, Telnet. Telnet was another utility that was used on the DARPA project between military locations that were sending files from one location to another one, or telnetting through a port 80 or whatever port connecting it. It was all in clear text. But later on, and DARPA and ARPA, they wanted to just write software to just make sure that both military and universities can use that one as kind of like a secure way to communicate between two IP addresses, whether it was a server and a client or a server and server. However, peer-to-peer, they could communicate and send files and emails and everything in a secure method of transferring it. That project basically was enabled to do TCP/IP, Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. And back in Windows 95, this was introduced with TCP/IP version that allows commands like SFTP, Secure FTP, scopy. And that previous to that one was commands were like FTP, Telnet, rcopy, remote copy, RCP, and so on. Those files were all kind of like non-secure. Even with the NIS information, they were clear text. But later on, they introduced LDAP for replacing NIS, and that is doing security aspect of it. SFTP to replace Secure FTP. scopy, that is basically secure copy, similar to SFTP. scopy is there. rsync and all those other utilities, they allow you to do in a secure method of it. So today I'm going to introduce you to the SSH daemon, which is Secure Shell Daemon. As you can see, I took the first character of these ones and then I showed it basically in the way it should have been shown. Let me go to a slideshow again. So if you look at this one, the S and then SSH and then D, it is just a Secure Shell Daemon. Because it's a daemon, it's listening on port 22 on the server side for connection coming from Secure Shell Client. The Secure Shell Client also has some configuration on the remote side. Whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, you can run a client tool, which is called SSH, to connect to a server side, SSH daemon. And then I'll show you the configuration file related to these ones so you know what's going on there. And then the secure file transfer protocol is similarly allow you to transfer files securely. And then scopy is to copy files recursively. Sometimes you can do the entire directories. You don't have to do one file at a time with scopy -r, for example. And later on, I will show you different examples. But on today's session, let's get into the command prompt of a Linux operating system. As you can see, I'm already logged on as root with the highest privilege that I have. So I can trace some of these processes, and I don't have to say, well, I don't have permission to do so. And then some of the commands, for example, what I'm talking about is, if I just look at this, I can look at the OS-release of this one, disregard to what level of privilege I have. Whether I'm just a regular user or root, I can read the contents of this file. And as you can see, I'm on a Linux Ubuntu 20.04 long-term support. So in this case, I'm going to clear my screen, and I know that information. So what I want to do is say, which SSHD. So as you see, there's a shell daemon is there. So I'm going to say, what is SSHD? And then I know that the open SSHD is there. I can also get the man information on SSHD. This is going to basically give me all the details with all the argument and parameters that are passed, but I'm not going to go through that. And you can also do info SSHD, and you get that same information with different kind of values and different things that are shown under the info that are not shown under the man page, but they're similar. So here I'm going to show you clear screen. When I did which SSHD, I know that this is installed under user sbin SSHD. So when I do a file on it, it says what type of file it is. It says it is an executable link format there. So I'm going to do ls -ld user sbin SSHD. Then this one tells me it's executable. That's why this permissions of this file is just with X. And read, write, execute, meaning the root owner has read, write, execute. Group also has read and execute, but others also have read and execute. Notice the group and other people could not write to this file. Only root could write to it. And that's a file. If I do a check sum on the user sbin, this is a program that gets installed when you install your Linux operating system. So I'm going to say, for example, app search and then SSHD. So this one will just search for SSHD, and it tells me that SSHD is installed here. And also I could just say clear screen and say app show SSHD. That would just show the package here. And if I just do unable to do anything with it, so it did not find it, but I say app search SSHD, see if I did already search. So let me just do a list. And then listing is done. So now I'm going to do a few more commands here with app. So in order to get the list of other arguments that are passed here, you can see I did the list, a search, and show. And then if you want to install a SSHD that is not installed, you can also get to install it and then get those information here. So if you want to do uninstall, you can uninstall it and so on. But at this time, I'm going to just say, is the process SSHD is running right now? To do that one, I do a ps -ef grep -i, and then I grep out minus v, my own grep command. So the grep does not show there. Now notice that the process ID of 1726 is for SSHD. So if I say pwdx 1726, that one is a process working directory of executable. It just says print working directory of executable, and it basically shows that it is running from the ls. So if I say lsof minus p 1726, that shows me the list of open files for that process. Since it went to more than one screen, I can do a pipe more and look at them on all of them together. Clearing back the screen, and then here's 3 of that process that I just did, process 3. So I can see the process 3. By default, if you do a PS3, it will show all the process on your system that is there. But if you just do this one for the SSHD, you can see that what processes are there on the SSHD that are just spawned. Remember that grep minus v, if I just want to do grep minus v grep, this last command that is my grep command, I want to grep it out, you just do that one, it will not show that. And notice that the process 3 of this process was showing these other processes are there with the same thing with process there. So we can also do something here to say which SSHD, we looked at it, which SSH for the secure shell. And then if I just say, what is SSHD? Notice that one says open SSH secure shell daemon, but what is SSH is the client one. What is SSH? Secure shell, that's a remote login client session. In fact, the browser that I'm using, I just come in from this Bitwise application, and then I just installed Bitwise on the client side. I connected, and then now I can open a terminal and work on it as the client. And then as you can see, I log in as this. I could still run with SSH those commands, PS3, and some of the commands are not tied to only root level. But I just did the pwdx, which is a print working directory of executable. So now we know the process 1726 is tied to this one. So if I say grep minus I, grep 1726, you can see that PS minus EFA, you have to get EFA, and then this one is in red, and so it is showing that process. But if I just do SSHD and grep minus V grep, I can also get that information here in a clear text. In a clean text, which is white color rather than this that is hard to read on a green. So let's just do this. We know this one is there, and let's see if the process, as I'm seeing here, the SSHD is listening on as a daemon on port 22. But how do I know that this one is running at port 22? So I'm going to do a clear grep minus I SSHD from etc services. And then if I just configure etc SSH on port 22 for both TCP port, this is the secure shell remote login. So now I can do a netstat minus an and grep 22, for example. And notice that when I did a grep 22, it's a lot. So I'm going to do a grep w 22. That w meaning that it's a word that is unique. So in this case, I'm looking at this port 22 here. This is for port TCP version of TCP version 4, and this the other one, or with 3 colons for TCP version 6. So it is showing us listening. And then I can just also say grep listen in uppercase, and you can see that actually one is for version 6 and one is for version 2. That is listening to port. I could also do lsof in lowercase, list of open file minus I, and then get the port 22 information. And notice that all the established connection that are coming here or showing up. So if I just say who, I'm logged on the system, and then I'm coming from this 136, and 136 is showing here that is connected to MyWebUniversity.com through Secure Shell. So now I did that one. Let's just clear the screen, say system CTL status of SSHD. So now if I want to see the status of SSHD, I can see it is active. When you see the system security with the system CTL status SSHD enabled, that means after the reboot, the system will come up. And active running means it's currently up and running, and then it's listening. And the port is right here, 1726, the main process ID. And then the socket that is open, we can also trace that one for it by just saying LSOF -I and then :22. That one, and then 5 more, because it's a lot more information. You can see that this is the process ID, and then the process that is connected here is through this port 22 and there. So what else we want to know is system CTL. We know that SSH a status of SSHD, we see it. If you want to just disable the status, obviously you don't want to do that one, because you will be preventing yourself from logging into Secure Shell there. Then you have to have access to remote console, and then you can take care of it otherwise. So at this time, I'm going to show you some of the configuration files. So if I say which SSHD, you can see this, which SSH is there, which is FTP, secure FTP, and which is copy. All of them are there on the system. So what is SSHD? We saw it. What is SSH? We saw it. What is FTP? Secure FTP, secure file transfer. And what is copy? It is just saying secure copy for remote file copy programs. And you can do a lot of stuff with these ones. At this time, I just have logged on. In another session, I'm going to show you. But here's a file that is on the etc SSHD. There's some files here under SSH that is normally your secure daemons. And then so here I could also go under SSH and say SSHD_config. And then notice if I see what is SSHD_config, this is the open SSH secure daemon configuration. And similarly, if I do what is without the D as the client side, and then I just do what is SSH_config, it shows the client side. And there's also for the root level, since I have, there's a .ssh, there's known host file from the machine that you connect to it, and then home wlutfi, in this case .sh, also has a known file. So one for the user level that you have it, normally from one machine to the other machine, when you connect, Secure Shell knows about these files and writes these files. So if I look at the content of these files, obviously there's a connection that are established. It knows that I can connect to these other machines remotely from there. This is how you use it. And then at this time, I'm going to stop this session, because we covered everything related to what is Secure Shell. But on another session, I'm going to provide you how to secure shell to another machine, how to copy, how to do secure FTP. And that's why I named this video here number 1. So then later on, we will talk about other security software, like cybersecurity aspect of your codes, and different vulnerabilities that are on the system, how you do like TLS, SSL certificate, and then secure copy, secure SSH, and everything else. I will just cover it on different session. In order for you to just learn more, please make sure you log in and register or subscribe to MyWebUniversity free education videos. That way I know what your needs are, and then make comments on those videos so I can just fulfill your needs. I appreciate that one. Have a nice one. Take care. God bless you all.